On the last episode of Alaska Cabin Adventures, I started construction on my new outhouse, a luxury outhouse for my off-grid property here in Alaska. Things were coming along nicely, and then it happened. That's right, I accidentally stepped in the outhouse hole and hurt myself really badly.
Oh, I might have broke my knee.
And it turns out I did in fact break my knee. I fractured it in 3 places, tore my MCL, seriously sprained my ACL, and had a bad case of what's called jumper's knee. After a month and a half of bed rest and hobbling around on crutches, I'm finally feeling strong enough to try and start building again. Alright guys, we're gonna get back to this. It's been 6 weeks since I injured my leg, and it's definitely still hurt, but I think it's time to get back to work because snow's in the forecast, and I don't have much time to get this outhouse done. So, despite my knee being sore and stiff, I think we're gonna give it a shot. Okay. I'm really not interested in making the same mistake twice, so I'm gonna put some plywood down to cover up this hole, make sure I don't fall in again, because even though you learn your lesson, it's amazing how quickly you just forget and fall in the same hole that you already fell in. So, cover this up. Alright, so this is going to be kind of a weird wall I got to build. It's the front wall with the door, and the door is going to be up higher than the tops of the rest of the walls. So I've got to frame it like level with the tops of the walls, come in, and then up to do the door, because it's very short walls, so the door needs to be taller than the top of the walls. So I've never built anything quite like this. Split the wood. Of course it did. I do want to clarify that the doctor okayed me to return to this kind of physical activity. He said to take it easy and that things might hurt a little bit, but he doesn't think I'm going to do any damage to myself unless I fall in the hole again. And just a quick reminder that all the music in my videos is original. It's written and recorded right here at the cabin by me and my friend Forrest, and you can download it on my website at alaskacabinadventures.com. Okay. 4 walls. To secure the walls to the floor, I used a couple of 3-inch deck screws in the corners, but remember it's the sheeting that really holds the walls down to the subfloor. Typically, you lock your walls together by overlapping your top plates. Well, in this case, I can't do that because my top plates extend out over the porch in order to hold up the roof framing, so I use these mending plates instead to achieve the same effect. I double-checked that the walls were plumb and then hammered them in. I called it an early night and spent the evening writing out some rough equations for my roof rafters, which I'd put up the following day. No sense in wasting daylight scratching your head. Well, we got our first frost of the year last night, which I kind of knew was coming because I came out to use the bathroom last night and it was crystal clear. I could see all the stars. Whenever it gets clear like that late in October, it's just gonna freeze. That's what happens. But this is the latest I've ever seen the first frost out here. Normally you get it in September, but this is October 18th. My leg is pretty dang stiff first thing in the morning, so I do my PT exercises. Try to get things stretched out and loose before I do much building. One of the comments I get a lot that I didn't anticipate getting when I started doing YouTube was what kind of boots I'm wearing. Today I'm wearing these Brunt work boots, but one of the hardest parts about this knee injury is getting my boots on because all the fractures in my leg. It was a compression fracture, so pushing into a stiff boot doesn't feel good. And no, I'm not sponsored by these boots. First order of business was pulling out all the lumber so that I could get to my plywood underneath. It really kind of bothers me to see what a mess I've got underneath my cabin. I've got lots of old scrap wood from different projects, and you can see some chunks of insulation coming out where the squirrels got in there. It is a convenient place to keep those types of things, but one day I'd like to clean that all up and skirt the cabin instead. Alright, before we start building out the roof, we're going to go ahead and put the sheeting up for the sidewalls. And without an extra set of hands, I'm going to use some blocks up underneath this to set the plywood on to make sure it's flush with the bottom while I tack it in. Okay. Good boy. One of my favorite parts about making these videos is looking back at the footage and seeing the different creative ways that Norman decides to insert himself into the shots. It wouldn't be the same without him. So typically when I plan out my builds, I try to make sure that everything's going to be divisible by 8s and 4s. So that way you can use 8-foot by 4-foot pieces of plywood without any waste or unnecessary cutting. But for this little outhouse, I just wanted it to be exactly how I wanted it rather than how it should be for the plywood. Rather than measure and snap a line, I'm just going to put this piece of plywood up here and mark along where the top plate is. It's like putting a puzzle together. Alright, well it's time to start figuring out our rafters. And this is a really tricky part of the build because it takes some math. There is different methods that you can use, like the step-off method that don't require math, but I've just had the best luck by figuring out mathematically what it should be. And then if it's not working that way, it's probably because your framing isn't straight or your ridge board isn't straight. So for this, I'm just going to do something really simple. I'm going to do 2x4s, 2 foot on center. And they're going to be at a 12-12 pitch. And if you guys are new to building roofs, 12-12 pitch is really steep to work on. But since I don't have to get up on this roof because it's so small, it'll be a good choice because it makes all the cuts really easy. Everything is 45 degrees, and you don't have to worry about too many crazy math equations. Norm's ready to do the roof. Huh, bud? Good boy. So I decided to take 48, which is going to be the width of the plywood, and take off 3 inches. And that 3 inches is going to account for the subfascia and the fascia, and make sure that my rafters aren't sticking out past my sheet metal roofing. This will make more sense when I put it up there if you're not a builder. There's our first rafter. Hopefully it'll fit, and then we'll make this our template. See what we did with our bird's mouth. So now I'm going to install the posts that are going to support the ridge beams, so that way we can butt the rafters up to it. So here's our post. Now we just got to figure out a way to support it. So I don't know if you guys can see, but this is not plumb, and we need it to be plumb. So we're going to use these braces to get it plumb. There we go. Look at that. All right, so our seat cut fits just right, and then it butts up against the post just perfectly. I couldn't be more happy with that. Yes! Yeah. I think all the other times that I've built roofs and everything was mathematically sound and it just wouldn't fit and I couldn't figure out why. It's because my ridge post wasn't exactly perfect and plumb. The problem with these little rafters is that if I shoot it with a nail gun, it's just gonna split. So I'm gonna have to probably go in and pre-drill and screw every single seat, but that's okay. All right, so since I've got my template, I can just set it on top of the new rafter, trace it out. You want to make sure to use the same template for all your boards. If you cut one and then use that as the template for the next one, they can slowly get off. So you just keep using the same one. All right, well, I've got the first few rafters up and in place just to make sure that they were fitting across the board, and they're looking pretty good, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut out the rest. All right, well, I almost forgot that I'm gonna do a crock pot while we work, so that way when we're done, dinner's ready. So I got a nice big chunk of buffalo meat, and we're gonna make a buffalo stew. We'll cut off some chunks for Mr. Norman. Good boy. All right, normally I just add my own seasonings, but I saw this package that was a savory pot roast seasoning mix at the store, so I'm gonna give this a try. And there we go. Now when we're done building, we'll have hot dinner ready for us. Well, I got a bunch of these to do, and I'll check back in. I got all the rafters cut out, and now it's time to install them. Okay. All right, I want to show you guys something. Come on up here. That's what I call good enough for an outhouse. That's awesome to have the ridge level. That means that everything from the foundation to the floor to the walls to the framing for the roof is all working. That's the problem, is that if you start off with something that's a little unlevel or unplumb, it just magnifies with each step that goes up. So to get all the way to the top and have it in good shape is awesome. All right, well, I thought I'd take you guys up here with me, just give you a better look at what I'm doing. Figured out an easy way to do this is just come over to the wall studs and then pull my square up to it, and then I mark a line right here. Then I'm able to carry that line with the square. And there we go. Now for the ridge, grabbing it with my tape measure, bringing it over, and then I'll mark out that 48 on center. All right, well, the roof is coming along really nice. I just got to get the front rafters on, but Norman's not having it. He wants a walk, don't you, buddy? Yeah. So me and Norman are gonna go for a walk real quick out in the woods, and then probably eat some dinner. I do want to get more done, but daylight is not long this time of year, so we'll see. Okay, let's go, bud. Let's go. I know. We're going. Come on, this way. Let's go. Come on. Well, I came out to finish up the last of the rafters and start putting in the blocking, but I'm just zapped. My legs are super weak and I got no energy. So I think I'm actually gonna call it a night. Good progress for one day, definitely. So I'm gonna need to get the blocking done, finish the rafters, figure out how to get a 10-foot sheet of plywood up there by myself, cover it in tar paper, cut out the metal roofing and install it. And that's all on the agenda for tomorrow. So it's going to be a big day. So let's head inside the cabin. I need to get a fire started. It's really cold in there. I haven't had one going all day. Well, good morning. It's 19 degrees this morning out at the cabin, 19 degrees Fahrenheit, which I'm not sure what that is Celsius, but it's chilly. Kind of feels like winter is finally here. While Norman and I were on our morning walk, we noticed that some of the new property owners were out here, and we decided to stop by and say hello. They have an old RV that's broken down in their driveway that they stay in while they're working on their cabin. They explained to me that their propane had run out last night and that they didn't have any way to cook breakfast. So naturally, I invited them over to the cabin and let them cook breakfast at my place. What's nice about that is that he offered to help me finish up my roof and get those heavy pieces of plywood up there with me before they left. Pretty good trade-off if you ask me. I have to say, it is just incredible how much gets done when you have a second set of hands, especially someone like this fella who actually has a background in carpentry, unlike myself. Well, sometimes the universe just throws you a bone, and today was that day for me because I was really stressing about getting this plywood up by myself. I was going to rig up toe boards and try to lift it, but being on a ladder with my leg being bad, and also I woke up this morning just feeling like I got hit by a truck after the last 2 days of building. My body's just been atrophying for 6 weeks, and it's just a lot to get back in the swing of things, so having someone to help me out with that on a day that I felt so sore I wasn't even sure I could build was just perfect. So really appreciate it. Now I can work on some roofing, and I might actually have this thing weathered in by the end of the day. No! The dang stapler's not working. Shoot. These things are a pain in the butt. Third time's the charm. Oh, come on. It just worked. Here's the problem with the stapler. They're all jammed up in there. Well, I just spent like the last 10 minutes looking for my stupid staple hammer that I spent the last half an hour trying to fix, unjam, and then get the right staples in. This stupid thing has caused me so much turmoil, but it's just such a lesson when you're building stuff. Keep track of your tools. That's why a tool belt is so handy, so you know where your stuff is. I'll put a pencil down, and then I'll spend like 20 minutes looking for a pencil. It's just rookie stuff. You gotta keep track of things. Okay. No! No! That's so frustrating. All the staples just fell out with this stupid plug. The reason that was so frustrating was because I'd had to piece together the right staples for this thing with a box of old screws and staples that I had laying around because I didn't have any new boxes of them. So I had already wasted a bunch of time just piecing together that 10 or 12 staples that I had left. See that? Keeps trying to run away on me. It's got to be smarter than the tool. Okay. Uh-oh. All of these leaves are frozen onto the sheet metal roofing. See if I can pry it apart with a screwdriver. There it goes. We'll save this piece for later. Now I've cut sheet metal roofing with just about every possible tool that there is. I've used tin snips and grinders, skill saws with the blades turned backwards and metal cutting blades, but I'd never tried a jigsaw with the metal cutting blade. But a friend of mine had recommended it to me and said that he swore by it. I think I still prefer using a skill saw with a metal cutting blade, but this worked fine too. Okay. When you're installing metal roofing panels like this, it's absolutely essential to get the first one squared up really nice, otherwise all the other ones will start to drift off course. I just realized that my cut side of the sheet metal is down because I pre-drilled all the holes the same way, which means that they'd be opposite for this side, so that means my cut side is down, which is not ideal because this can rust since it's been cut. Oh well, I don't actually think it's that big of a deal. The trick with these sheet metal roofing screws, they have like a little crush washer on them, and the trick is to not over tighten them. You just want to have it sit nice and flush without it squishing out all the material underneath it. I decided I want my roof to overhang 2 inches from the plywood, so I went ahead and marked a 2-inch mark over here, and I'll line it up over here. Okay. Okay. All right, well, just got done putting in all the screws for the sheet metal roofing, and I realized that I never bought a ridge cap for going on the top of this thing. So I'm going to have to run into town tomorrow and pick up one of those. After 3 days of doing the most strenuous activity my knee has seen in over 6 weeks, I have to admit it started to feel a lot better. Things just started to loosen up, and I was even limping less. I decided to take advantage of the momentum and work into the night to get this sheeting done. we go. Okay, need to clean all this up, but my battery's just about dead. So I think that's going to be good for tonight. All right. Well, today is going to be doing the door, and I'm also going to install the window that goes on the back wall. And even though it doesn't seem like much, it'll probably end up taking me all day because I'm going really slow right now. So if I end up having more time, I might build out the seat for the outhouse or finish the porch. So I'm going to finish my coffee, and then we'll get to it. Just a quick note about Z bracing. You always want to have the hinge side connect with the lower part of the Z and this one away from the hinges. That way this comes out and is supported by this as it goes down. Otherwise your door can sag over time. A lot of folks you see do it the other way where this board would be like that, but that's not correct. You want the long side to start the Z and go back into the inside corner. So the hinges will go over there and the handle will go here. For setting the door, I use these 2 half-inch pieces of plywood. That way when I set the door down, anchored it in, and then removed them, I knew I'd have a half-inch clearance underneath. Okay. Okay, let's see how we did. Okay. Aha! Door. Pretty good fit, actually. I'm proud of that. Now we just got to do the door stop on the inside and put a handle on it. I thought up an easy way to figure out the door stop on the inside. I just added these 2 boards to the outside of the door so that it would stop flush with the outside wall, held it tight from the inside, and then just pushed the pieces of door stop up against the door so I knew that it would fit snug when the door closed. It's just a chunk of birch wood. I think if I cut it here to there, I can make a cool little handle. Now I think that handle came out pretty good, and with the door finished, it was time to move on to installing the window. The reason for the window is twofold. The first is that I wanted some natural light in there. Even though I plan to have a lamp in there, I think it would be nice to have some natural light, especially if you weren't running electricity. The other thing was something that could open so that I would be able to ventilate in case it didn't smell great in there or if the moisture started to build up. Now I do intend to install a vent pipe that leads from the outhouse seat up through the roof. That should make a world of difference in cutting down on bad smells and moisture built up in the outhouse. Shoot. Ran out of tape. Dang it. Oh well. Just have to finish that up later. I was feeling really good about my progress so far. I got the door and the window done like I wanted to, and still had plenty of daylight, so it was on to the porch. I gotta leave a little bit of room to get my siding in here later on, so I'm going to put these 1.5 inch blocks to space it out from the wall. That way later I can come in and tuck some siding in there. I also don't want this snugged up against the building because when the snow falls I want a little bit of a gap so that the water can drain out rather than get stuck in between and wick into the walls. This is a trick I picked up somewhere along the way. You just use a carpenter's pencil as your spacer. Just pop it in between them. Get them flush. Put it over on this side. Push it tight. There we go. Just rinse and repeat a few times. Well, my main tasks for today were to get the door installed and the window installed and the porch done, and those are done. And I still got a little bit of daylight, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and install the actual seat for the outhouse, which means that even though this thing isn't fully done, I could probably use it. So let's see if we can knock that out real quick. Okay, so I marked out a line at 11.5 up here and 11.5 up there, and I'm just gonna mount like a ledger board for the framing to sit on. Okay, all right, then I'll measure out from the back of the wall to the front of this stud. It's time to remove my safety plywood. All right, and there's the hole. This one will go here, and this one here. There's one. Well, I dropped one of my little cripple studs down in the hole. And that is 5 feet down, so I cannot reach it. So I'm gonna have to figure something out here. All right, going back down in this hole, hopefully for the last time. Whoa, here we go. Yeah, got it. Woo! No, I dropped it. Dang it. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. I got it. Framing's all done. Now I just need some plywood to go across. The 41 by 13. So I pulled the foam off of my other seat because this blue foam is the stuff to use. Even if it's negative 20 outside, as soon as your cheeks touch this stuff, it doesn't feel cold at all. It's just super warm. So what I did was I marked the lines from the inside of the last pieces of framing. So this is the whole area. Which means that this would go like this. I'm just going to go ahead and mark the center because I want to definitely know where the center is. There you have it. Ooh, lines up nice. Well, it's too dark to really see much, but there it is. Obviously, we're going to do a lot more to finish the interior, but the basic functionality is there. Well, I feel pretty good about the progress I made today, and it's dark, so I'm going to clean up and head inside and cook some dinner. Well, I decided to take the morning off from building and did some fishing with my buddy Steve down at the river. And I was casting, and I just turned right at the wrong time, and the line came through with the split shots on it and just hit me right in the cheekbone. Super hard right here. It was like, it hurt pretty bad. It bled a little bit, but I'm just glad it didn't hit me in the eye. But anyway, it's starting to snow, guys. It's happening. Winter's here. And I realized that I never put all the screws in the ridge cap, so I'm gonna go ahead and button down that ridge cap and call it a day for now. It's gonna be time to prep for winter. We got a lot of firewood to move, kindling to split, things to prepare, and clean everything up and make sure there's nothing laying on the ground, because next time I'm out here, it's probably gonna be covered in snow. Hey, so don't forget that all the music in my videos is original music. It's written and recorded by me and my good friend Forrest Wilson. Huge thanks to Forrest for all his contributions to the channel. If you guys like the music, you can go onto my website and download it. It's at alaskacabinadventures.com. I've also got merchandise and different things like that on there. I just want to give a huge thank you to everyone who's put money in the virtual tip jar on there. It really, really means a lot to me, and it goes a long ways, so thanks to all of you. Anyway, I'm gonna get to it, finished up the ridge. Alright guys, well this is going to take me a minute, so I'm just going to say thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of Alaska Cabin Adventures.